3.02.
Lesson 8C. Exercise 3. 1.
The police arrested the arsonists.
2.
They broke into the house and stole some valuable jewellery.
3.
They mugged the youth and stole his wallet and phone.
4.
They looked for the criminals.
5.
The police arrested the suspect.
3.03.
Lesson 8C. Exercises 4 and 5.
Today on Good Reads, I'm pleased to welcome Christina Rayworth, who has written a new biography of Bonnie and Clyde. So, Christina, tell us a bit about their backgrounds.
Bonnie Parker was born in Texas in 1910. She was short and good-looking, a bright student, but she got bored, left school, and got married at the age of 16. However, the marriage wasn't happy and didn't last long. Clyde was a year older than Bonnie. His parents were farmers, but they didn't own the farm, and they were always short of money. His dad finally gave up farming and opened a petrol station in Dallas. Clyde had a job, but also started shoplifting and stealing cars.
So when did the two meet?
In 1930, they fell in love immediately. But the police arrested Clyde a few weeks later, and he went to prison for 2 years. In 1932, when he came out of prison, in the middle of the Great Depression, there were huge numbers of people looking for work and very few jobs. Unable to find work, the young couple joined a gang and started a career of crime.
But they hadn't killed anybody yet, had they?
No, but it wasn't long before Clyde shot the owner of a shop while they were robbing it. It was the first of 13 murders.
So they continued to rob and steal?
Yes. They robbed shops and banks across the southern states. They often changed cars by stealing a new one. Clyde was a good driver and knew the roads very well, so it was difficult for the police to catch them.
What finally happened to them?
They had already killed a number of police officers, so the police were determined to capture or kill the couple. Bonnie and Clyde frequently visited their families. The police knew this and set a trap. They waited for Bonnie and Clyde to pass in their car and then started shooting. The police fired 130 bullets at the car, killing the couple. Clyde was 25, Bonnie was just 23.
Why do Bonnie and Clyde continue to fascinate us?
Well, we like to romanticize them. They were young, they were in love, and they were always on the road, never settling down. Bonnie wrote poems, and Clyde played the saxophone. That appeals to a lot of people too. And I guess people think of all outlaws as on the side of the ordinary people and against authority. But the reality was very different, of course.
Thanks, Christina, for talking to us.
3.04.
Lesson 8F. Who was the Somerton man?
It began at 6:30 a.m. on the 1st of December 1948, when some passers-by discovered the body of a man on Somerton Beach, in Adelaide, Australia, just west of the city. The police arrived and launched a murder investigation. At the hospital, doctors examined the body, but could not find out for sure how the man had died. In his pockets were a bus ticket from the city, a train ticket, a comb, chewing gum, cigarettes and matches. There was no wallet or identification. Nobody knew who the man was. the police continued their investigation. They could not identify the man using fingerprints or dental records. Then, 2 weeks after the discovery of the body, there was a breakthrough. They found a suitcase that the man had left at Adelaide Station the day before his death. Inside the case were some clothes, a knife, scissors, and a brush. However, these possessions did not reveal the man's identity. In fact, somebody had removed the labels from most of his clothes and another label from the suitcase itself. A new expert joined the investigation. John Cleland, a professor at the University of Adelaide. In April, he found a clue that everybody else had missed. A small piece of paper in a secret pocket inside the dead man's trousers. On the paper were 2 words in Persian, Tamam Shud. The words are from a famous Persian poem, and they mean, "It is the end." Somebody had torn the paper from an old copy of a book. A few months later, a man gave police a copy of the book containing the poem. He said somebody had dropped it into his open-top car the day after the man on Somerton Beach died. The last page of the book, with the final 2 words, was missing. In the book, the police found 2 clues: a telephone number and a message. The message was in a secret code. The second line was crossed out, and some letters were unclear. The telephone number belonged to a nurse. She said she had given a copy of the book to a soldier called Alfred Boxall in 1945. Finally, the police had solved the mystery. Obviously, the dead man was Alfred Boxall. There was only one problem. Alfred Boxall was still alive. The police found him and interviewed him. What is more, he still had his copy of the book. The mystery of the body on Somerton Beach continued. So, what about the mysterious 5-line message? Could that contain the answer to this puzzle? Perhaps, but unfortunately we do not know what the message says. Nobody has ever solved the secret code.
3.05.
Lesson 8G, Exercise 2.
The photo shows a number of men looting a shop. There must be a riot in this area because the shutter looks broken. They can't want people to recognize them because most of them are wearing hoodies and one of them is covering his face. The man in the foreground is holding up a pair of jeans. Presumably he's stolen them from the shop because the label is still on them. It must be a clothes shop. The man on the right can't be one of the looters because he isn't wearing the same clothes and he is just standing there. He probably doesn't want to stop them because he is scared. The man at the back with the stripy hoodie looks like he is trying to climb in. He's probably going to steal something. If I lived in this place, I'd feel really frightened because there's no law and order. Anything could happen.
3.06.
Lesson 8G, Exercises 4 and 5.
The first photo shows a man snatching a bag from a woman while she's walking through a subway. She's trying to hold on to the bag so he can't steal it. In the second photo, a man is leaning into a car through a broken window. He's also trying to steal a lady's bag. The common theme in the photos is crime. You can see the criminal in both photos, but unlike the first photo, the second photo does not show the victim. That's because the owner of the car is probably not there. Another obvious difference is that the criminal in the first photo might not succeed. The woman might hold on to her bag, but in the second photo, it seems as if he's definitely going to get the bag. Both photos show types of street crime, but I think the first photo shows a more worrying kind of crime. The first photo shows a crime against a person, whereas the second photo shows the theft of some property.
3.07.
Lesson 8G. Exercises 7 and 8.
I'm not sure, really. I suppose it's true to say that they're both stealing, but burglary is probably worse.
Why do you think it's worse?
In my opinion, it's worse because it affects ordinary people, maybe families with children. If burglars broke into my house, I would be terrified. Looting from shops is a crime, but it doesn't frighten people in the same way. What is more, the looters aren't taking anyone's personal possessions, so they aren't upsetting anyone.
OK, thank you.
3.08.
Exam Skills Trainer 4. Exercises 4 and 5. 1.
Hello and welcome to George Lewis. I'd like to remind you all that this week is sales week in our shop. You will find plenty of bargains on every floor. There is 50% off many items in ladies' and men's fashion and also children's clothing. You can save 20% on digital cameras and some mobile phones too. And don't forget to visit our cafe for our Offer of the Week menu. One child goes free with each paying adult. Thank you, and I hope you enjoy shopping here at George Lewis.
2.
Last night, thieves stole 2 paintings from the Swan Street Art Gallery in the town centre. The paintings belong to a local artist, Lucian Gray, and are worth around £10,000 each. A witness saw 2 men loading the paintings into a white van parked on the corner of Swan Street. The men were wearing hats, dark jackets and jeans. The witness thinks they were in their early 30s. Police would like anyone who has any information to contact them as soon as possible. Now on to the next news story.
3.
Hi, Lucy. Katie told me you're going to South America next year.
Yeah, that's right. I want to take a gap year and travel around. And work a bit too.
I'd love to do that, but I haven't got any money.
You need to save up.
But that's really hard. How do you do it? Do you stay at home all the time?
No, you don't need to do that. But I work in the holidays and sometimes at weekends. I don't buy many clothes or CDs anymore either. I still go out, but not every night.
Maybe I need to get a job then.
I think that's a good idea.
4.
Hey, Jake. Are you still looking for a job?
No, I found something in town, in that new clothes shop that opened on the high street last month. My brother's still looking, though.
Oh, right. Well, you can tell him I saw an advert in the restaurant near my house for part-time waiters.
That sounds good. Is it evenings or lunchtimes?
I don't know. I've got the number. Do you want to give it to him?
OK, thanks. I'll put it in my phone.
3.09.
Unit 9. Lesson 9A. Exercise 2.
Aluminium, cardboard, ceramic, concrete, copper, glass, gold, iron, leather, nylon, paper, plastic, rubber, steel, stone, wood.
3.10.
Lesson 9A. Exercises 6 and 7. 1.
This is lovely. Isn't it lovely? What is it exactly?
It's a coffee machine.
Oh, yes, of course. Is it battery powered?
No, it's mains powered. Look, the cable's here, under the base. If you press this button, the plug appears.
That's clever. I love it. It's perfect for my kitchen at home. I'll come back later today and buy it.
Would you like to try a cup before you go?
I'm sorry?
A cup of coffee.
Oh, no thanks. I never drink coffee. Horrible stuff.
2.
I see you're looking at the cycling machines.
Cycling machines? Oh, yes. Yes, they're very nice, aren't they? A very unusual design.
It will look great in your living room. You don't need to put it away if friends come to visit.
Yes, I see. Good idea. And it's got a long handle. Is that for carrying it?
No, that's the seat.
Oh.
It's leather.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, it's heavy, isn't it?
Yes, it's got a triangular base that's made of iron. It allows you to cycle very fast without the whole thing shaking.
Oh, and what are these buttons for?
That's the computer. If you choose share mode, it automatically posts your workout results on Facebook.
I see. Yes, I really like it. The thing is, I joined a gym recently.
Oh, right.
But my son is trying to get fit, and he would use it, I'm sure.
3.
I like this stereo. It's a really unusual design.
Yes, it's amazing, isn't it?
What's it made of?
It's made mostly of glass. Would you like to hear it?
I didn't bring any CDs.
Don't worry, there's one in there. Listen.
It sounds great.
It goes forwards to the next track if you just touch here.
Can you turn it down?
Yes, you can turn it up or down. If you wave your hand once, it gets louder. If you...
I mean, can you turn it down now, please? Thank you. I'd like to buy it, please.
Great. You can pay by credit card or cash.
3.11.
Lesson 9C. Exercise 3. 1.
It was really kind of you to lend me your car. I'm really grateful.
2.
Please come to the film with me. You'll really enjoy it, I'm sure. And I don't want to go on my own.
3.
This match is going to be tough. The other team are really strong, but I think you can win if you really want to.
4.
I'm sorry, but this soup is cold. Could you change it, please?
5.
I'm sorry to hear that you failed your driving test. I know you're upset, but you only made one little mistake, and I'm sure you'll pass next time.
6.
It's great to see so many of you here today for the concert. Thank you very much for coming. I hope you enjoy it.
3.12.
Lesson 9C. Exercises 4 and 5. 1.
We are all aware of the dangers of being overweight and how hard it can be to lose weight. This new health drink, which my company has invented, can help do just that. It's better than other drinks because it has a new special formula that gives you all the vitamins you need without extra calories. I won't give you all the technical details here, but it has been thoroughly tested and is very effective. So, rather than persist with other products, I recommend that you try this new one. I don't think you will be disappointed.
2.
I sold my old motorbike last month and got this new one. Well, it isn't new, actually. It's second-hand. I couldn't afford a new one, but it's only a couple of years old, and it's as good as new. Really, there's hardly a scratch on it. I was lucky to get it at such a good price. It didn't cost much more than what I got for my old motorbike. I'd get one if I were you, but there aren't many around, and you're unlikely to get such a good deal. But it's really worth trying. Yeah, go for it.
3.
Your high blood pressure is due to a build-up of cholesterol in your arteries. This has probably been caused by eating too many fatty foods and smoking. I can certainly prescribe some drugs that will help to bring down the high cholesterol, but initially I'd like you to make some changes to your diet and increase your level of exercise. Try to avoid eating fatty foods, such as cheese, butter, cakes, and so on. Try also to exercise regularly, ideally 3 times a week for 20 minutes or half an hour. Come back to me in 3 months. If the level is still high, we will consider a course of treatment at that point.
4.
I came up with the idea for this about 5 years ago, but only built it in the past 12 months. It's circular, with handles on each side. It's battery-powered, rechargeable batteries, of course. They are inserted just here. It's made of steel and plastic, and it allows you to browse the internet as well as record film. So it's a computer combined with a camcorder. I've met quite a few people who might be interested in investing in it, because it'll take a lot of money, of course, to develop and produce. But I haven't heard back from them, which is a bit worrying because I need money to start advertising it.
5.
You'll be delighted to hear that the new minibus which the school purchased has finally arrived. It runs on biofuel, which is sourced from plants, so it is very environmentally friendly. It'll allow the school's sports team to get to and from matches quickly and easily. We were able to purchase the minibus thanks to the money we made at the Christmas fair. We are very grateful to all the people who donated unwanted items for the stalls and who made all those delicious cakes and biscuits. Without you, we wouldn't have this wonderful new bus. I'm sure the bus will be in high demand from the word go.
3.13.
Lesson 9F. Inventions the world forgot.
1. The telharmonium. The telharmonium was the world's first electronic musical instrument. It was designed by an American, Thaddeus Cahill, in 1897. 3 models of the instrument were built. The first weighed about 7,000 kilograms, and the other 2 weighed nearly 200,000 kilograms. Music from the instrument was broadcast to people's homes using another new invention, the telephone. For the first time, people could stay at home and listen on their telephones to live music from another part of the country. The radio had not been invented. People loved these concerts, but there were problems. Some telephone users who were not listening to the concert were interrupted by loud music halfway through their conversation. By 1914, the world was no longer interested in the telharmonium. After Cahill's death in 1934, his brother kept one of the 3 models, but in 1962 it was destroyed. No recordings of the music were kept, so the telharmonium and its unique sound have disappeared forever. 2. The rejuvenator. In the early part of the 20th century, there was a lot of interest in the power of electricity to cure medical conditions. A device called the Rejuvenator was invented by British scientist Otto Overbeck in 1925. It was used in the home to treat all kinds of medical problems, including deafness and baldness, and became very popular. It was advertised in newspapers, and members of the public were invited to watch live demonstrations in theatres. The users placed electrodes on any part of their body, and a small electric current was passed through it. It was unclear exactly how the machine worked, but hundreds were sold all around the world, and Overbeck became rich. In the 1950s, it was still possible to buy new parts for these machines, but today they are only seen in museums. 3. The writing ball. The writing ball was invented in 1865 by Rasmus Malling Hansen from Denmark. It was a machine for typing onto paper. Malling Hansen spent a long time working on the design. For example, he made sure all the keys were placed in the best positions for typing quickly. The machine even used electricity to make the movement faster. There was one problem, however. You could not see the paper as you were typing. Nevertheless, the writing ball was sold all over Europe and was very successful. However, each model was made by hand. Soon, other machines became more popular because they were made in factories and were cheaper. A new keyboard was developed with the keys arranged differently. This arrangement is now used on phones and computer keyboards all over the world, even though it was quicker to type using the writing ball. The once popular writing ball was forgotten. 4. The Antikythera mechanism. In 1901, a ship was discovered at the bottom of the sea near the Greek island of Antikythera. On the ship was an ancient machine. It had been made about 1,900 years earlier, in 2 BC. For many years after its discovery, nobody understood exactly what the machine was for. But in the 1970s, scientists used X-rays to find out its secrets. Amazingly, they found that the machine was an ancient computer. It had been designed to predict the movements of the sun, the moon, and the planets. It did this using more than 30 handmade metal wheels of different sizes. A study of the mechanism in 2006 was led by Professor Michael Edmonds from Cardiff University. He described the device as just extraordinary, the only thing of its kind, and more valuable than the Mona Lisa. Reconstructions have been made, and the device works perfectly.
3.14.
Lesson 9G, Exercises 2 and 4.
Hello, can I help you?
Yes, I bought this portable DVD player here 6 months ago, and there's a problem with it.
What's wrong with it?
I can't switch it on. I press the on-off button and nothing happens.
Let me have a look. Yes, you're right. Are the batteries fully charged?
Yes, they are. It doesn't work even when the power lead is connected.
Have you got the receipt?
Yes. Here it is. I'd like to exchange it, please.
I'm afraid that won't be possible. It's over a month old, you see.
Is there anything else you can do?
We can repair it for you.
How long will that take?
About 2 to 3 weeks.
OK then. Repair it, please.
3.15.
Lesson 9G, Exercises 6 and 8.
Hello, how can I help you?
I bought this tablet here last week. There's a problem with it.
Oh, what's wrong with it?
The screen is broken. Look.
How did that happen?
I dropped it.
Oh dear. Well, we can repair it for you, but you'll have to pay for the repair.
Why? It's only a week old. Can I have my money back, please?
No, I'm afraid you can't. You broke it, you see. It isn't a fault with the tablet.
But it shouldn't break when you drop it, and it was in its case.
The glass is very delicate. It can break quite easily. I'm very sorry, but there's nothing I can do.
Can I exchange it, please?
No, as I said, we can repair it, but we'll have to charge you.
Well, how much will it cost?
About £80, I think.
£80? Well, I'm not happy about that. Can I see the manager, please?
He isn't in the shop at the moment.
Well, if you won't exchange it or give me a refund, I'm going to write to the manager.
As you wish.
Thank you and goodbye.
Goodbye.
3.16.
Exam Skills Trainer 5. Exercise 4.
People have always looked up at the planets and dreamed of exploring space. The history of the telescope dates back to the early 1600s. Many people say that Galileo invented the telescope, but this is not actually true. In 1609, he was the first person to use a telescope to study the stars. But it's thought that a man named Hans Lippershey invented it in 1608. Galileo learned about this invention and built his own. At first, people used it on land and at sea, but then Galileo had the idea of turning his telescope toward the sky. In March 1610, he wrote about his many discoveries, including that the moon was not flat and smooth, but had mountains and craters, and that Jupiter had its own moons. After this, people not only wanted to look at the stars and the planets, they wanted to travel in space. They started researching different ways to get there. The first successful flight was in 1944, when a German V-2 rocket went on a test flight. It was the beginning of many firsts. In 1957, the Russians launched Sputnik 1, which was the first satellite to orbit the Earth. The first successful human spaceflight was when the Russian astronaut Yuri Gagarin traveled in a spacecraft called Vostok 1 in 1961. It completed one orbit around the Earth. The first object to land on the Moon was Luna 2 in 1959. The first woman in space was Valentina Tereshkova in 1963. And in 1969, the first men walked on the Moon. Since then, there have been many attempts by scientists to explore Mars. There have been around 40 attempts to get there by different countries, and more than half have failed. Many people might think this is a waste of time. However, I don't agree with them, because already scientists have discovered many interesting things about the planet, including signs of water and possible life. More recently, in 2014, India successfully sent the latest spacecraft to send back images of the planet.
3.17.
Culture 1. The British.
How foreigners see the British. What is a typical British person like? People who come to Britain from other countries probably have a few expectations. British people are polite, rather reserved, and enjoy drinking tea and standing in queues. But how accurate is this stereotype? In an online survey of 1,402 foreign nationals living in the UK, just over half said that the British match their expectations. The survey also asked which aspects of the British character the foreign nationals liked and disliked. British people's good manners were popular with 49%, and 40% liked the ability to queue. Many agreed that the British are reserved, and for 32% this was a good quality, but for 19% it was negative. Other negative aspects were the British sense of humour, 31%, and British culture in general, 28%. However, 77% said they liked British people in general, and 61% said that their opinion of the British got better as a result of living in the UK. A spokesman for the researchers said, "People probably come to Britain with a stereotype of what to expect. It's good to see that for the majority, the reality is better than the stereotype."
(3.18)
Culture 1. Exercises 4 and 5.
Speaker 1.
I love the UK. I just love the atmosphere, the culture, the art, the history. There is also beautiful scenery in places like Cornwall and Scotland. The people here are kind and friendly. The only things I don't like about the UK are the weather and the food. I had some really bad fish and chips recently.
Speaker 2.
British people don't care about their work like we do. They aren't very hard working, really. They spend all day waiting to finish work and go home. And when they leave work, they forget about it. I have my own cafe here in Cardiff, and for me, my work is my life.
Speaker 3.
I find the British people very friendly, and I love an English breakfast and fish and chips. But I don't like it when I finish work at 11 p.m. or midnight, and young people are causing trouble in the street. It's not always nice, and they make a lot of noise. I don't worry for me, but I'm anxious for my wife at night over here. Overall, though, I like living in Britain. It's much better than back home.
Speaker 4.
Okay, the weather definitely is not great, but I love the freedom of living in the UK. It's so friendly and welcoming. It was difficult for me when I first arrived at the age of 16. I was used to rules. My family came first, and I always obeyed my parents. I never answered back. But British teenagers have so much more freedom. They don't have many rules, and that's not always a good thing. They often behave badly.
Speaker 5.
The culture here is amazing, and I really like the literature. Shakespeare is one of my favorites, and I love Mr. Bean. Like me, Rowan Atkinson, the actor, studied electrical engineering at university. But people here are lazy. You get too many holidays, especially students.
3.19
Culture 2. Robinson Crusoe.
The Real Robinson Crusoe. Written by Daniel Defoe and published in 1719, Robinson Crusoe is one of the oldest and most famous adventure stories in English literature. In the story, Crusoe is marooned on a desert island and spends 27 years there before he is rescued. Defoe probably got the idea for his novel from the true story of the Scottish sailor Alexander Selkirk. In the early 18th century, England was at war with Spain, and Selkirk joined the crew of an English ship, the Cinque Ports, which attacked Spanish colonies and ships in the South Pacific. In 1704, Selkirk's ship stopped at a remote island for fresh water and supplies. Selkirk was worried that the ship was in poor condition and, instead of returning to it, decided to stay on the island alone. He became very lonely and quickly regretted his decision, but he was right about the Cinque Ports. It sank. Selkirk survived by building a shelter and killing animals for food. 2 ships visited the island the following year, but unfortunately they were Spanish, so Selkirk hid from sight. An English ship finally arrived at the island in February 1709, and Selkirk was able to return home.
3.20.
Culture 2. Exercises 4 and 5.
I took my prisoner to my secret cave on the other side of the island and gave him food and drink. After that, he went to sleep. He was a fine young man, about 25 years old, tall and well-built, with a kind face and nice smile. I decided to give him the name of Man Friday, because I first saw him on a Friday. I began to teach him to speak English, and soon he could say his name, master, and yes and no. How good it was to hear a man's voice again. Later that day, we went back to my first house. We went carefully along the beach, but there were no boats and no cannibals. Friday was a quick learner, and his English got better day by day. He helped me with the goats and with the work in the cornfields, and soon we were good friends. I enjoyed teaching him, and, most of all, having a friend to talk to. This was the happiest of all my years on the island. Friday and I lived together happily for 3 years. I told him the story of my adventures and about life in England, and he told me about his country and his people. One day, we were at the top of the highest hill on the island, and we were looking out to sea. It was a very clear day, and we could see a long way. Suddenly, Friday began to jump up and down very excitedly. "What's the matter?" I asked. "Look, Master, look!" Friday cried. "I can see my country. Look, over there." I began to think about escape. Perhaps Friday wanted to go home too. Perhaps together we could get to his country. But what then? Would Friday still be my friend?
3.21.
Culture 3. Screen exports.
British TV around the world. Selling British TV programs to countries around the world is an important industry for the UK. It brings in around £1.3 billion a year. The top countries for British TV exports are 1. the USA, 2. Sweden, 3. Denmark, 4. Germany, and 5. Norway. There are 2 main types of TV export: finished programs and formats. When countries buy a finished program, it is ready to broadcast on their own channels. When they buy a format, they are just buying the idea for a program. They then have to make the program in their own language and with people and places from their own countries. Many of the finished programs are dramas. For example, the historical drama Downton Abbey is very popular in many countries. Midsummer Murders, a detective drama from 1997, is still a huge favourite around the world. Wildlife documentaries are also an important export. Popular British formats include several talent shows. The X Factor and Strictly Come Dancing are 2 well-known examples. Cookery programs are very popular too. For example, local versions of MasterChef are on TV in more than 40 different countries, including India and Iran. Different TV shows are popular in different countries. For example, the science fiction show Doctor Who is very popular in Turkey and many other countries. But when a TV company in Finland bought the program,
audiences there did not like it at all. They prefer an old police drama called Heartbeat, which was popular in the UK 20 years ago and only sells to a few countries.
3.22.
Culture 3. Exercises 4 and 5.
Top Gear, a BBC TV programme about cars, is the most popular factual TV programme in the world. Every week, about 350 million people watch it in 170 different countries. In most countries, they watch the British version of the programme, but a few countries bought the format from the BBC and made their own versions. However, this was not always a good decision. Russia and Australia both made their own programmes following the same format as the British programme, but they were not popular with viewers. In the end, both countries decided to show the original BBC programme instead. Top Gear began about 40 years ago, in the 1970s. In the early days, it was quite a serious programme, with lots of information about new cars. But in 2002, it changed its style completely, and, as a result, became far more popular and successful. The programme was still about cars, but it also contained a lot of humour. They started filming the show in front of a live audience, and the atmosphere was like a party. The programme's presenters, Jeremy Clarkson, Richard Hammond, and James May, became well-known celebrities in the UK and around the world. Although all three presenters are male, a lot of the programme's viewers, about 40% in fact, are female. The new version of the programme introduced a character called the Stig, a racing driver who tested new cars. Nobody knew the identity of the Stig because he always wore a racing driver's helmet. People wondered if it could be a famous Formula One driver, and the mystery made the show even more popular. But the relationship between the three presenters is probably the main reason for the programme's success. However, in 2015, the main presenter, Jeremy Clarkson, lost his job. He had an argument with another person who was working on the show, and Clarkson hit him. Richard Hammond and James May also left the show. But that is not the end of Top Gear. The BBC is now making the show with new presenters.
3.23.
Culture 4. The English Language. Exercises 4 and 5.
Today, in our series about the English language, we are talking about English as a global language. In the studio with me is Professor of Linguistics, Edward Higgins. Welcome, Professor Higgins.
Thank you.
So, can you tell us how English became a global language?
Yes, well, English spread around the world during the 18th and 19th centuries. At that time, Britain was a very powerful country and it had a large empire. English became the most important language in countries like Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and a second language in countries such as Pakistan and India. It also became the first language in the USA.
And, of course, the USA is now the most powerful country in the world.
Yes, so English continues to be very important. The enormous influence of American culture since 1945 means that English is now, more than ever, a global language.
How important is the influence of technology?
Very important. English is already the language of popular culture, films and TV, and of science, business, aviation and tourism. It has now also become the language of the Internet. About 55% of the world's websites are in English, and experts estimate that 80% of all emails are in English too.
Just how many English speakers are there?
That depends on how you count them. But there are about 335 million people who use English as their first language. In addition, there are about 430 million people who speak it as their second language, in countries like India, South Africa, and the West Indies.
And a lot of people learn English as a foreign language too, don't they?
Yes, about 750 million people learn English as a foreign language in over 100 countries.
So how many speakers is that in total?
About 1.5 billion speakers worldwide.
Wow, that's a lot of people. I guess not everyone is happy about how widespread and how important English is becoming.
That's right. Some people think English is too powerful. They see English as a threat to their own language. In Britain, for example, Welsh has only 500,000 speakers. Can it survive alongside English, which has 60 million? Maybe not. And people in other countries don't like all the words that their languages borrow from English. Some French people, for example, object to words like weekend and blog and email.
Will English continue to be the most important language in the world?
Probably, but the power of the USA may decline, and China and India might become the next superpowers. In 100 years from now, it's possible that we will all need to speak Chinese or Hindi. Nobody really knows.
3.24.
Culture 5. British entrepreneurs.
Anita Roddick. Anita Perilli was born in 1942 in Littlehampton, a seaside town in the south of England. Her parents were from Italy and ran a cafe. After leaving school, she trained as an English teacher, but before finding a job, she decided to travel round the world, working in a number of different countries. When she got back to Britain, her mother introduced her to a young Scottish man called Gordon Roddick. They fell in love immediately and got married. Together, they opened a restaurant and a small hotel in Anita's hometown. They had 2 daughters and moved to Brighton, also on the south coast. It was there in 1976 that Anita Roddick opened the first Body Shop store. Her husband was travelling in South America, and she needed to earn money to support her young family. She wanted to sell cosmetics and skincare products that were natural and not tested on animals. She also recycled the bottles that contained her products. Customers could bring them back to the shop and refill them. Businesses have the power to do good, she said. She opened a second shop 6 months later, and by 1991, there were 700 Body Shop stores. By 2004, the Body Shop had over 2,000 stores with 71 million customers in 51 countries. Anita Roddick was passionate about social and environmental issues. She gave money to many charities, including Greenpeace and Amnesty International, and she campaigned for them too. She joined anti-globalization protests and was very critical of big oil companies that did not invest in renewable energy. Towards the end of her life, she sold Body Shop to the world's largest cosmetics company, L'Oreal. Many of her customers felt betrayed, but she gave away most of her money to charities. She died in 2007 at the age of 64.
3.25.
Culture 5. Exercises 4 and 5.
Richard Branson was born in London in 1950. He didn't do very well at school and left when he was 16. His head teacher said to him, "You will either end up in prison or become a millionaire." One of these came true. Branson is now the 6th richest person in Britain. After leaving school, Branson started a student magazine called Student. He used the magazine to start his next business, a mail-order record company. He advertised pop records in the magazine and sold them for much less than the music shops charged. He called his company Virgin. Soon he was able to open his first music shop in London. He then decided to not only sell records but also to produce them. He built a recording studio and had an instant hit with Mike Oldfield's Tubular Bells. He attracted lots of new young musicians and groups, especially punk bands like the Sex Pistols. Bigger bands like the Rolling Stones and Genesis followed, and Virgin Records became one of the biggest record companies in the UK. But Branson was looking for new challenges. In the early 90s, he sold his record company and started an airline, Virgin Atlantic, which flies from the UK to destinations all over the world. He also started a train company in 1993 and a mobile phone company in 1999. Branson not only likes business challenges, he also likes personal challenges, and has tried to break a number of world records. In 1986, he sailed across the Atlantic Ocean in record time, and in 1991 he made the fastest crossing of the Pacific Ocean in a hot air balloon. His average speed was 394 kilometers per hour. Branson's most recent business is Virgin Galactic, a space tourism company.
3.26.
Culture 6.
Alcatraz.
Alcatraz is a small rocky island in San Francisco Bay in the USA. It is 2.4 kilometers from the shore, and the sea around the island is very dangerous. The water is very cold, and there are fast, strong currents. In the 19th century, the American government realized it was the ideal place to put dangerous prisoners because it is very difficult to reach and even more difficult to escape from. So they built a prison on the island, and from the 1930s to the 1960s, it was the toughest prison in the USA. Over 1,500 prisoners stayed on the island, including America's most violent bank robbers and murderers. The most famous prisoner was the gangster Al Capone. But the prison was never full, and it was very expensive to run, so the government finally decided to close it. Alcatraz became a museum and is now one of San Francisco's most popular tourist attractions, with more than 1.5 million visitors a year.
3.27.
Culture 6. Exercises 5 and 6.
So, here we are inside Alcatraz. I'm with Danny Bergman, who works at the museum and shows people round. Hi, Danny.
Hello, and welcome to Alcatraz.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to the tour.
Well, the first thing I'll show you is a prison cell. Come this way. Here we are. This is a typical cell.
Wow, it's so small.
Yes, it's 2.7 meters long and 1.5 meters wide. The prisoners could stretch their arms out and touch both walls, like this.
Oh, yes.
Each cell had a bed with one blanket, a desk, a toilet, and a small wash basin. Each prisoner had his own cell. Black prisoners stayed in cells in a different block.
What did the prisoners do all day?
They got up at 6:30, had breakfast at 7, then tidied their cells. If they were lucky and behaved well, they were allowed to work from 7:30. If not, they had to stay in their cells. Lunch was at 11:20, and then they worked again until 4:25. The guards locked the cell doors at 5 o'clock and turned off the lights at 9:30.
It doesn't sound like fun.
Nope, it wasn't. There was a library, though, with 15,000 books, and prisoners could borrow 3 books at a time. The average prisoner read about 85 books a year. They could also play musical instruments for an hour a day in the canteen if they wanted to.
Could they go outside?
Only at weekends, for a maximum of 5 hours. They could play baseball in the recreation yard.
And what about visitors?
Each prisoner could have 1 visitor a month.
Those are very tough rules.
Yes, they are. And if they broke the rules, the punishments were very harsh.
Did any prisoners escape?
36 men tried to escape, including 2 who tried to escape twice. The guards recaptured 23 men, including 2 who successfully managed to leave the island and reach the city. The guards shot and killed 6 others during their escape, and 2 prisoners drowned trying to swim across the bay.
That makes 31. What about the other 5?
Nobody knows what happened to them. Have you heard of the famous Hollywood film Escape from Alcatraz?
The Clint Eastwood film, yes.
Well, that film tells their story. The 5 men planned a very clever and detailed escape over 7 months. They disappeared one night and were never seen again. The FBI looked for them, but never found them.
What do you think happened?
I don't know. They probably drowned. But it's nice to think that maybe they got away.
3.28.
Culture 7. Wall Street.
Wall Street is a street in New York City's financial district. People also use Wall Street to mean the whole financial district. The Dutch gave the street its name. They built a wall there to protect the area from the British in the 17th century. Wall Street is one of the main financial centres in the world, together with London, Hong Kong, and Tokyo. The New York Stock Exchange opens every morning at 9:30 a.m. and closes at 4 p.m. The signal for opening and closing is a bell, and they often invite a celebrity to ring it. In the early part of the 20th century, Wall Street was the centre of the financial world. Millions of people wanted to invest money in the New York Stock Exchange because it was doing so well. Their money grew and grew, and investors became rich. It seemed too good to be true, and it was. The Wall Street crash began on the 24th of October, 1929. The value of investments started to fall, and soon everybody wanted to get their money back. Investors panicked, and the situation got worse. The New York Stock Exchange lost 89% of its value very quickly and caused the worst global depression in history.
3.29.
Culture 7. Exercises 5 and 6.
The Great Depression began at the end of the 1920s and lasted until the end of the 1930s. It was the worst depression in history, and it began with the Wall Street crash of October 1929. During that crash, the stock exchange fell by 89%, and many investors lost all of their money. But why did that have such a bad effect on the rest of the country? After all, most ordinary people had nothing to do with Wall Street and no money to invest anyway. Why did they suffer when the stock market fell? Basically, when the Wall Street crash happened, the whole nation lost confidence in the country's economy. Banks did not want to lend money to people who needed it, and people with money did not want to keep it in banks. As a result, more than half of the 25,000 banks in the USA went out of business. People were very anxious about the economic situation, so they were careful with their money. They didn't spend much, so shops went out of business and people lost their jobs. Factories began to close down, and more people became unemployed. In 1930, 4 million Americans were looking for work but could not find it. A year later, the number was 6 million. Because there were not enough jobs, many people could not afford to pay the rent for their homes. In America's towns and cities, there were more and more homeless people. The president, Herbert Hoover, did not want to take any action. He believed that the situation would get better soon by itself, but he was wrong. It got worse. Much worse. By 1932, about 15 million people, that's 25% of the working population, could not find a job. In 1932, the American people elected a new president, Franklin D. Roosevelt. He decided that he needed to help the economy out of depression, and he did this by spending huge amounts of government money on big projects. He used these projects to give work to millions of unemployed people. And he often spoke to the American people over the radio, trying to improve confidence. His efforts did help the economy, but in fact, the start of the Second World War in 1939 helped much more. Finally, the factories and workers were busy again. By 1940, unemployment was down to 10%. Remember, it had been around 25% in 1932. But it took until 1954 for the New York Stock Exchange to reach the same level as before the Wall Street crash of October 1929.
3.30.
Culture 8. Sherlock Holmes.
The author of the Sherlock Holmes stories was Arthur Conan Doyle, 1859 to 1930. He was born in Scotland and studied medicine at Edinburgh University. He worked as a doctor, but in his spare time he wrote detective stories. He wrote the first Sherlock Holmes story in 1887. His detective hero lives at 221B Baker Street in London. Holmes is tall and thin, with a long, sharp face. He usually wears a deerstalker hat, smokes a pipe or cigarettes, and carries a magnifying glass. He is extremely intelligent and is a brilliant violinist. Holmes's assistant is Dr. Watson, an ex-army officer. Watson is less intelligent than Holmes. In one Sherlock Holmes film, when Watson asks Holmes how he solved a crime, Holmes's famous reply is, "Elementary, my dear Watson." Holmes's greatest enemy is Professor Moriarty. At the end of one story, they both die, but Doyle's fans were so upset that he had to bring Holmes back to life in another story.
3.31.
Culture 8. Exercises 4 and 6.
Today on Film Review, I'm talking to Mark Jackson about the famous detective Sherlock Holmes. First of all, Mark, can you tell us how many film and TV adaptations of the Sherlock Holmes stories there are?
There are hundreds. No one knows exactly because some have been lost. But the first was a short film made in 1900. Lots were made in the 1920s, and it hasn't stopped since. At least 78 different actors have played the character of Sherlock Holmes in films and TV dramas.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes. No other fictional character has appeared so often on cinema and TV screens.
Why is that? What is it about the stories that is so appealing?
I think it's the character of Holmes. The stories themselves are not that brilliant. They're good, they're clever, but there are better detective stories. It's really the character of Holmes that is unique and fascinating.
In what way?
Well,
He's a very complex character. He's extremely intelligent. He believes that no one is as intelligent as himself, except perhaps his great enemy, Professor Moriarty.
So arrogant and vain, too.
Yes, arrogant and vain. And he doesn't care what other people think of him. But he's also very imaginative, very observant, and also very brave.
And he has a dark side to his character, doesn't he?
Yes, he's very unemotional, very cold. He's quite unsympathetic. He can't understand other people's feelings. And he doesn't understand women at all. Dr. Watson describes him in one of the stories as a brain without a heart, and more a machine than a man.
Does he have hobbies or other interests?
He plays the violin, but he gets bored and depressed very easily. And when he's feeling down, he sometimes goes to bed and sleeps all day.
So, like many popular heroes, he has lots of faults.
Yes, in that way, he is very human.
There are two recent TV adaptations of the Sherlock Holmes stories, a British one and an American one.
Yes, and the interesting thing is that the stories are set in the present day. So there's the BBC drama called Sherlock, starring Benedict Cumberbatch. They use some of the original stories, but they have added lots of humour. Then there's an American show called Elementary. It's set in New York, and it stars Johnny Lee Miller as Holmes and Lucy Liu as Watson.
Lucy Liu, a woman? That's different.
Yes, but it works, I think.
And it's set in New York, so is Holmes American?
No, Miller plays him as British. But Miller has changed Holmes's character a bit. Miller's Holmes is very scruffy, whereas in the original stories, Holmes is very well dressed. And in the TV series, Holmes has girlfriends.
Really? Is Watson his girlfriend?
No, not Watson. That would be too far from the original story and make them very different characters.
Do you think there will ever be a female Holmes?
People have accepted a female Watson, so yeah, why not? I think it's bound to happen sometime.
3.32.
Culture 9.
Code breakers. During the 1930s, German military power was increasing. Its neighbours, in particular Poland and France, were becoming more and more worried about the danger of an invasion. In Poland, a team of brilliant young mathematicians worked hard to break Germany's military codes. It was difficult because the Germans used a complex machine called Enigma to send and receive their codes. But by 1938, the Polish team could understand 75% of Germany's secret messages. This was mainly thanks to an invention by Marian Rejewski called the Bomba Kryptologiczna. However, that year, the Germans changed their Enigma machines and made the codes far more difficult to break. As World War II began, the Polish team shared their ideas about Enigma with British and French codebreakers. A team of codebreakers, men and women, worked at a secret location in the south of England, Bletchley Park. They included Alan Turing, a mathematician with an interest in computing. At Bletchley Park, he designed an early form of computer which they called the bomb. It was based on the Bomba Kryptologiczna. They used it to help break complex codes. Compared to today's computers, the bomb was huge and not very powerful. But at the time, it was some of the most advanced technology in the world. It made the work of the codebreakers much faster. Marian Rejewski worked as a codebreaker in Britain during the war. In 1946, he returned to Poland and worked as an accountant. He kept his code-breaking work secret from everybody until 1967. But today, his work is celebrated each year at Bletchley Park.
3.33.
Culture 9. Exercises 5 and 6.
Ada Lovelace was born in 1815 into a rich family. She was the daughter of the British aristocrat and famous poet Lord Byron. However, she did not grow up with him. She was brought up by her mother, who made sure that Ada had a very good education. She was particularly good at maths and science, and took a keen interest in the scientific inventions and discoveries of her day. At that time, a British mathematician called Charles Babbage was working on a machine for doing complex calculations. He called his machine a difference engine. He began to build the machine, but he did not finish it because he had a better idea. He called his new idea the analytical engine, and it was better because it had a kind of memory. In fact, he didn't finish building this one either. Babbage never really finished anything. Ada Lovelace met Charles Babbage, and the two became friends. Ada began working with Babbage, and because she was a brilliant mathematician, she understood how important his ideas were. She realized that it was possible to write programs for the analytical engine. Because it had a memory, it could do complex calculations step by step. In a scientific paper, she described how to do this and gave an example. Because the machine was never built, the example was never tested. Nevertheless, most computer scientists see Ada Lovelace's work as the first computer program in the world, and it was written years before the first computer existed. Ada Lovelace died in 1852 at the age of 36. The importance of her work was not realized for another 100 years, but today she is seen as an important figure in the history of science. A modern computer programming language is named after her, Ada. And every October, Ada Lovelace Day celebrates the role of women in science, technology, maths, and engineering.